It was the kind of college town you'd think was safe. Tucked away in the rolling hills of Idaho where people left their doors unlocked, and evil was something that happened somewhere else. But in the early hours of November 13th, 2022, that illusion shattered. 4 students, Kaylee Gonsalves, Madison Mogan, Zaina Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin, were found brutally stabbed in their beds. No suspects, no motive, no answers. Now, nearly 3 years later, the man accused has pleaded guilty, but this story isn't over. It's only deepened. And what comes next may be even more chilling than the crime itself. The house at 1122 King Road wasn't just a home, it was a college sanctuary. Parties, laughter, weekend hangouts. That Saturday night, the students had split up. Kaylee and Madison went downtown to a popular bar called the Corner Club. Zaina and Ethan attended a fraternity party. By 2 a.m., all 4 had returned home. By 4:30 a.m., they were dead. 2 other roommates were also inside, but miraculously, they survived. According to one, she heard strange noises, crying, a voice saying, "It's okay, I'm going to help you." But frozen by fear, she stayed in her room. When she emerged hours later, the house was silent, too silent. Police arrived just before noon. What they found was a scene of pure horror. Each victim had multiple stab wounds. The attack was swift, calculated, and vicious. Investigators believe the killer entered through a sliding glass door. He knew the layout, he knew his targets. In the following days, fear gripped the campus. Classes moved online, students left town, parents begged for answers. The killer remained unknown. As rumors exploded, detectives combed through thousands of tips, phone records, surveillance videos, and DNA. Every lead felt like chasing shadows, until a single chilling detail surfaced. A knife sheath, left behind, held the DNA that would change everything. Before the accusations, before the mugshot, before the name Bryan Kohberger became synonymous with fear, he was just another kid from Albrightsville, Pennsylvania. But from early on, something seemed different. He was quiet, kept to himself, stared a little too long. Some called him weird, others intense. Kohberger struggled with social connection. He was described as awkward, even bullied. In high school, he was overweight, withdrawn, and reportedly battled a heroin addiction by the age of 19. But something shifted. He got clean, lost 100 pounds, became a vegan. Went back to school. He began studying psychology, criminal justice, criminology. To some, it looked like redemption. To others, obsession. He wasn't just interested in how crimes were committed. He wanted to know why, what it felt like, what it meant to cross that line. On Reddit, under the username criminology_student, Bryan posted a call for participants. "I'm inviting you to participate in a research project that seeks to understand the thoughts and feelings during the commission of a crime." He was asking ex-cons, what were you thinking and feeling? What did you do after the crime? How did you choose your target? The questions were clinical, but chilling in hindsight. Kohberger enrolled in the PhD program in criminology at Washington State University in Pullman, just 10 miles from the University of Idaho. He drove a white Hyundai Elantra, lived alone, had no criminal record, and yet he fit a profile that only hindsight could paint. According to some reports, he applied for an internship with the Pullman Police Department, not to help fight crime, but to better understand how law enforcement collects and interprets technological data in criminal investigations. He wasn't hiding in the shadows, he was standing in plain sight, studying everything and everyone. The case had stalled. Investigators had no official suspects. Public pressure was mounting, and the small Moscow Police Department was drowning in noise. But quietly, they were closing in. At 3:28 a.m. on the night of the murders, a white Hyundai Elantra was captured on surveillance near King Road. It drove by once, then again, and again. 6 times in total, circling, waiting. At 4:20 a.m., it fled at high speed. Police traced vehicle registrations in surrounding counties. One match stood out: Bryan Kohberger. Phone records showed Kohberger's phone was mysteriously turned off from 2:47 to 4:48 a.m., the exact window of the killings. But the most incriminating detail came from inside the crime scene. Left beside the bodies was a leather sheath for a military-style K-bar knife. On it, a single trace of DNA. The match wasn't direct, but it matched a family member, his father. Bryan had driven cross-country for winter break with his dad. They were pulled over twice, once in Indiana, for minor infractions. Each time, Bryan remained calm, silent, composed. But behind the scenes, the FBI had been watching, tracking, collecting trash from the Kohberger family's home, building the case. At 1:30 a.m., Bryan Kohberger was taken into custody. He reportedly asked, "Was anyone else arrested?" A strange question, unless he believed someone else should have been. What kind of mind commits an act like this? What makes someone, educated, clean-cut, with no prior violent history, allegedly plan and execute a massacre? Psychologists, criminologists, and behavioral analysts have all weighed in on the enigma of Bryan Kohberger, and what they see is chilling. Many experts believe he fits the profile of a high-functioning psychopath, someone who feels no genuine empathy, who can mimic social behavior but only to blend in, to observe, to calculate. Former classmates recalled that he often took on the role of devil's advocate, especially when discussing notorious killers, not to defend them, but to understand them. Some even say he appeared to admire their precision. In his graduate work, he explored the concept of thought suppression, how criminals experience intrusive thoughts before acting. Was he projecting, studying others? As a way to study himself, he kept journals, avoided alcohol, controlled everything he could, including what he ate. Former friends described an obsession with dominance. He wanted to be the smartest in the room, the most informed, the most in control. Everything about the attack aligned with the behavior of someone who fantasized about it for years. Experts point to the organized killer profile. Stalk the victims beforehand, choose vulnerable targets, leave minimal trace, except for one item, for signature or ego. Return to the scene, mentally or physically, to relive it. And chillingly, some believe he may have watched the aftermath online. Multiple threads have speculated that Kohberger was lurking in public discussions, posing as anonymous users, analyzing the reactions, feeding his own narcissism. No tears, no emotion, just silence, like someone who had always wanted to be part of the story. And finally, was. July 2025. Bryan Kohberger entered the courtroom for what many thought would be the beginning of a long, grueling trial. But what happened surprised everyone. He changed his plea to guilty. All 4 counts of first-degree murder, one after another. For the families, it was a wave of emotions. Relief, but not closure. Justice, but not healing. Kohberger accepted a plea deal. He would serve life in prison, 4 life sentences, without the possibility of parole instead of facing the death penalty. For many, it was the right outcome. For others, a lost opportunity to ask why. Because even after the guilty plea, Kohberger gave no statement, no confession, no explanation. He now resides at the Idaho Maximum Security Institution. Solitary confinement, 23 hours a day in a windowless cell, 1 hour of exercise in a caged yard, no visitors, no media, no voice. The house where the murders occurred was torn down, an attempt to erase a painful landmark. But for the families and for the town of Moscow, the trauma cannot be bulldozed away. We may never understand why, but we'll make sure they are never forgotten. It started as a quiet November night, but it ended as a wound that may never fully heal. 4 lives brutally ended, 4 futures stolen by someone who walked among them, lived just 10 miles away, smiled in the mirror. They weren't just headlines. They were daughters, a son, best friends, roommates, lovers. And now, their memories. But questions still remain. What made Kohberger choose that house? Those victims? Was it random or something darker? Was there something we missed? Some signal? Some early warning? Evil doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it hides behind a GPA, behind a clean record, behind academic ambition. The question isn't just, how could this happen? It's, how many more are out there, waiting? 4 names that should never have made headlines this way. Their story is a reminder. Sometimes the people studying darkness carry it with them. If this story moved you, share it. Let their names be remembered beyond the horror. Let their families know the world still cares. And if you want more stories that dive beneath the surface, subscribe to our channel. Drop a comment below. Was justice served? What do you think really drove this man to kill? Because behind every headline, there's a shadow. And behind every shadow, a story that must be told. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Subscribe for more gripping true crime breakdowns, mysteries, and criminal psychology stories, only on Twisted Case.